Okay, so we start with uh, environmental crimes. Okay, so dito muna tayo sa environmental concepts and principles. So learning outcomes at the end of the unit, the students should be able to discuss and analyze the environment and its concepts and principles, understand and the attributes of the ecosystem and biodiversity, and identify the various threats to environmental well-being and the threats to mankind. So, basically, introduction siya sa environmental laws, environmental crimes. Okay, so let us define environment first. The term environment is derived from the French word environ and means everything that surrounds us. It is defined as the complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors that act upon an organism or an ecological community and ultimately determines its form and survival. So, ito ang pag sinabing environment, andito na lahat ng makikita mo sa mundo, lahat ng nakapaligid sa iyo, whether it's physical, chemical, or biotic. And they all contribute to the environment. Okay. Elements of environment. It is constituted by the interacting systems of physical, biological, and cultural elements interrelated in various ways, individually as well as collectively. So, itong mga to, physical, biological, cultural elements are uh, can be considered an individual factor, can be considered an individual element at puwede rin na ma-consider na, nagtatrabaho sila with one another in order to, actually build up the environment we are living in. So when we say physical elements, this is space, landforms, water bodies, climate, soil, rocks, and minerals. So these are the physical elements which determine the variable character of the human habitat. Magbabase sa mga 'yan kung papaano, namumuhay ang isang tao. So kung malapit ka sa dagat, kung malapit ka sa bundok, kung malayo ka sa mga yon magdedepende kung papaano ka namumuhay. So it's opportunities as well as limitations. For example, dito sa Pampanga, ah, well, somewhere doon sa amin, sa Arayat, mura ang isda kasi madaming mga fish pond, madaming mapagkukuhanan ng mga ganong resources. Kaya ano pa, sa Masbate, malapit, well, my mom, yung mama ko, malapit daw sila noon sa dagat. Kaya sawang-sawa siya sa seafood. Kasi yun yung malapit. Kumbaga, pag nagkarne sila doon, kapag baboy o kaya beef, yun, may party. Pero pag seafood, normal lang yun sa kanila. Kasi nga, yun yung malapit. So, yun nga, depende. Malalaman mo kung ano ang opportunities and limitations ng ah, environment mo sa environment mo. Okay. Biological elements. The biological environment consists of plants and animals. So, ito yung ating flora and fauna. All the organisms work to form their social groups and organizations at several levels. Thus, the social environment is formed. In the social environment, the organisms work to derive matter from the physical environment for their sustenance and development. This process leads to the economic environment. Then we have cultural elements. The cultural elements of the environment are influenced by the level of development that humans have attained in the path towards progress. The level of development is manifested in economic, social, and political elements, which are essentially man-made features which make up the cultural background. So, kung papaano ang actions ng isang tao o ng isang grupo ng tao, yun ang kanilang magiging culture. Yun na nga, sa economic, social, and political uh, factors or environment, nagko-contribute yan sa cultural elements. Okay, types of environment. The environment is divided into two types, natural environment and the built environment. So, from there, magkaka-idea na kayo kung ano yon. The natural environment encompasses all living and non-living things occurring naturally in the area, while the built environment refers to the man-made surroundings that provide the setting for human activities, such as buildings, parks, cities, and supporting infrastructure such as transport, water supply, and energy supply. So, yun na nga, obvious na kung ano yan, di ba? Pag sinabing natural, inabutan na lang natin, nandyan na sila. Hindi sila ginawa. Kumbaga, ah, walang ginawa ang tao para magkaroon tayo na yan. Kasi nga, natural siya. And then, yung mga man-made surroundings or the built environment are those that, well, obviously, are man-made. Hindi, noong unang panahon, wala namang kuryente. So, naimbento na lang siya o na-discover na lang siya at, ah, na-discover na lang siya at ah, ano to, naipalaganap siya for mass usage. Okay. So the environment, components of environment. The environment is divided into into four major components, which are the lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. This correspond to rocks, water, air, and life, respectively. Alam nyo na to, napag-aralan nyo na to nung high school. So review lang. Ano yung lithosphere? It is the outermost layer of the earth, called the crust, which is made of different minerals. Its depth can reach up to 100 kilometers and is found on both land, terrestrial crust, ang tawag doon sa land, and oceans, yung oceanic crust. Well, obviously, yun yung nasa ocean floor. The main component of the lithosphere is the Earth's tectonic plates. And then we have the hydrosphere. It comprises all forms of water bodies on Earth, including oceans, seas, rivers, lakes, ponds, streams. It covers 70% of the Earth's surface. 97.5 of water found on Earth is in the oceans in the form of salt water. Uh, Kapag tumingin kayo sa globe, makikita ninyo na majority talaga ay color blue. And yung blue, it represents the waters na meron sa Earth. Kaya, yun nga, majority talaga. Sabi nga dyan, 70% ng mundo ay okay. Only 2.5% of the water on Earth is fresh water. Ganun siya ka-scarce. Out of this, 30.8% is available as groundwater and 68.9% is in frozen forms as in glaciers, yung mga nasa North Pole, South Pole. The amount of 0.3% is available in rivers, reservoirs, and lakes and is easily accessible to men. And usually, dyan tayo kumukuha ng ating mga, well, kung nasa probinsya ka, dyan kumukuha ng mga supply, dyan naglalaba, dyan naghuhugas ng plato. Kasi nga, madali silang ma-access and it's clean. Alam mo yun, pag ang tubig kasi dumadaan sa mga bato-bato, lumilinis siya. Kung meron kayong filter sa bahay, may mga bato-bato, yun. And ganun din sa mga river. Okay, atmosphere. It is a gaseous layer enveloping the Earth. The atmosphere in abundance is unique to Earth and sustains life. Unlike in other planets, wala silang oxygen. So people, well, of course, they cannot live there na hindi gumagamit ng ibang aparato. Kasi nga, ang tao, kailangan niya oxygen. Okay. It mainly comprises 78.08% nitrogen, 20.95% oxygen, 0.93% argon, 0.038 carbon dioxide, and traces of hydrogen, helium, and noble gases. The amount of water vapor present is variable. Then we have the biosphere. This refers to all the regions on Earth where life exists. The ecosystems that support life could be in the soil, air, water, or land. The term biosphere was coined by geologist Edward Seuss, who used this term for a place on Earth where life can be found. The biosphere refers to the sum total of all living matter, the biomass or biota. It extends from the polar ice caps to the equator, with each region harboring some life form suitable to the conditions there. So, pag sinabing biosphere, basta lugar na kung saan pwedeng mabuhay ang tao, hayop, halaman. Yun. It is the totality. Okay? Biosphere. Okay? So, ano yun natin? Review. Sabi kanina, lithosphere ay yung crust o yung malapit sa crust, yun yung nasa ilalim ng ito yung lupa kung saan tayo nakaapak. So merong crust for us, yung wala sa ocean, and then we also have the oceanic crust. And then the atmosphere is above, biosphere, sabi nga lahat ng lugar kung saan pwedeng makahanap ng o mabuhay ang isang living organism. And then hydrosphere is the oceans or all bodies of water. Okay. Environmental science is an interdisciplinary subject. It draws from a whole gamut of subjects like geography, geology, biology, chemistry, physics, botany, zoology, sociology, rural development, urban planning, policy development, politics, cultural studies, economics, ethics, law, education, health, communication, and philosophy. It is a science that will address the biggest challenges encountering the planet in this millennium. It studies the complex interaction of humans with nature and provides guidelines for the way forward. So basically, lahat ng sciences related to the environment are part of environmental science from the name itself. Katulad nga nung geography sa lupa, botany sa halaman, zoology sa mga hayop. So lahat yan ay part ng environmental science, even ethics, law, education. It's still part of environmental science because we use them and it forms part of how we create our environment. Ecology and ecosystem. The study and understanding of ecology is an integral part of environmental science learning. Every living, every living being, however small or big, depends on the environment for its existence and also competes with others for essentials in life. For survival, living beings form groups and different groups compete with each other for survival. Ah, meron ngang term, 'di ba? Survival of the fittest. So, we compete in order to survive sa hindi lang 'yun sa tao aplikable, sa mga hayop aplikable din, 'di ba? You either be the predator or be the prey. Ayan. So it is the study of interrelationships between organisms. The study of interrelationships between organisms and the group of organisms is called the science of ecology. Kung ano-ano ang cycle, kung ano-ano ang relationship nga ng bawat isang element, bawat isang living organisms with themselves. Yun, ecology. Okay, the word ecology was derived from the Greek word oikos, meaning habitation, and logos, meaning discourse or study, or the study of. So it implies a study of the habitations of organisms. So ecology was first described as a separate field of knowledge in 1866 by the German zoologist. When we say zoologist, one who studies zoology or yung science of animals, Ernst Haeckel, who invented the word ecology for the relation of the animal to its organic as well as its inorganic environment, particularly its friendly or hostile relations to those animals or plants with which it comes in contact. Ecology is hence the study of the interrelationship among plants and animals and their interactions with the physical environment. So kung papaano nabubuhay, kung papaano kumikilos ang plants, ang animals in their physical environment. That's ecology. Ecosystem. It is defined as a group of plants, animals, or living organisms living together and interacting with the physical environment in which they live. So, for example, sa isang forest, isang ecosystem yan. Kasi namumuhay sila, yung mga animals doon, yung mga plants doon, namumuhay sila ah, na magkakasama in that specific forest. So that is considered an ecosystem. An ecosystem has more or less close boundary and the flow of mass in and out of the system is very less as compared to the internal movement of the mass. Kumbaga, kumikilos lang talaga sila in their ecosystem. Bibihira sila na kumilos outside their ecosystem because they might not survive dahil nga hindi naman sila sanay na lumalabas. And then, uh, ecosystems can be large or small. Examples of large ecosystems are rainforests, deserts, salt marshes, coral reefs, lakes, and ponds, open ocean, grasslands, and others. Yun. Kumbaga, yung may sariling buhay nga sila doon. Disyerto. Ayan nga. Lakes and ponds. Isang ecosystem yun. An ecosystem is made up of organisms which establish themselves in a given area and have continued to survive and have not become extinct. The species hence possess genes which fit the environment and are tolerant of disturbances like flood, fire, drought, and a reproductive rate that balances the natural catastrophes. And then, so in ecosystems, organisms constantly adjust themselves to geologic or climatic changes and to each other. As an example, the bats develop sonar to find the moths, and the moths develop ears sensitive to the bat's frequency. Ganun sila namumuhay. The behavioral adaptations are also reflected in the anatomy or the body structure of the organisms. An ecosystem does not remain constant. Changes occur in it continuously in one form or the other. It is significant that even a small change in one part of an ecosystem is felt throughout the ecosystem. This establishes the importance of interlinkages in an ecosystem. Kapag may nabago sa isang part ng ecosystem, sa isang, sabi natin, group of animals, nade-disturb yung ecosystem because each of those living organisms has a role to play. Kaya, kailangan uh, nagiging balanced ang ecosystem because if not, masisira siya or it would cause the deterioration of the actual ecosystem. However, the system tries to maintain the stability of an ecosystem depends on its diversity. Hindi pwede na, for example, sa forest, hindi pwede na puro ibon lang ang nandun. 'Di ba? Saan sila kukuha ng pagkain? Kung walang uod doon, magugutom sila. Maliban na lang kung kumakain sila ng damo. May ibon bang kumakain ng damo? Hindi ko sure actually. Pero yun, di ba? Kailangan nila yung isa't isa. So, yung mga uod naman, kailangan nila ng lupa. And so on. Yun. A more, the more the diversity there is, the more interdependence and more is the resistance to change. So, mas madaling mamuhay kapag mas malawak o kapag mas diverse ang isang ecosystem. Kasi kung kumukonti na lang sila, imagine niyo kung na-extinct na yung mga hayop doon, then it would be hard for the ecosystem to survive. Yun ang tatandaan nyo. The more diverse the ecosystem is, there is more interdependence and there is more resistance to change. Kumbaga, mas mababa ang posibilidad na ma-extinct sila o mas mababa ang posibilidad na masira yung ecosystem kapag mas diverse. Okay, functions of ecosystem. The ecosystem performs the most important function of satisfying the requirements of the different aspects of the biotic component. It is through an ecosystem that the interaction as well as the interdependence between the biological component and the physical component in the environment takes place. This interdependence is between biotic and biotic components. For example, plants depend on solar energy and soil. The interdependence is also between different aspects within the biotic component. For example, carnivores depend on herbivores. Yun, na-explain natin yung kanina. Okay, the ecosystem leads to the transfer of food, energy, and nutrients from one source to another source. Diba? Yung mga bees sa pollen. Ayan. The different forms of ecosystem are beneficial because they lead to positive effects on the environment, which in turn helps the living organisms. Ecosystems have helped human beings by providing materials as well as services necessary for survival as well as development. So, eto yung tinutukoy natin kanina pa, biodiversity. It comes from two words, bio meaning life and diversity meaning variability. So there is variability among life, or those who have life. Biodiversity is the variety of all living things. The different plants, animals, and microorganisms, the genetic information they contain, and the ecosystems they form. Okay, ecosystem integrity. So ecosystem integrity is the quality of a naturally unmanaged or managed ecosystem in which the natural ecological processes sustain the function, composition, and structure of the system. From the term itself, integrity nga, pagiging matatag ng isang, well, in this sense, ecosystem. Kumbaga, hindi nila kailangan ng uh, sabihin natin, tulong from man para ma-build up sila. Because yun na nga, integrity ng natural na ecosystem. Ecosystem integrity provides a strong base for understanding the fundamental causes of environmental degradation and pollution and linkages to human health. It also provides a strong justification needed to protect the environment and public health because If the ecosystem doesn't, sabihin na natin, doesn't have integrity, hindi na siya matatag. So kapag hindi na matatag ang ecosystem, nadi-disrupt na siya, katulad ng explanation natin kanina. Kapag na-disrupt siya, it becomes weak and it may even cause extinction. Kung sa tao yan, it might cause death. Okay. Yun na nga, kung nagiging polluted na ang isang lugar, kapag hindi na livable sa isang lugar, sira na, nasisira ang ecosystem. Okay, ecological balance. So ecological balance is a theory stipulating that natural conditions, including numbers of various animal and plant species, remain stable on their own through variations over time. Yun nga yung sinasabi natin kanina na hindi kailangan ng tulong ng tao. Yung sinabing tulong yung para i-assess sila na lumago pa o lumaganap pa. Hindi nila kailangan yon kasi among themselves, they can live harmoniously. The theory, also known as balance of nature, also holds that natural equilibrium can be changed significantly by new species entering an ecosystem. So kapag may pumapasok na bagong part ng ecosystem, nababago siya. The disappearance of some species, yun na nga, kapag na-extinct, nasisira din ang ecosystem. Man-made changes to the environment, yung forest, ginawang subdivision. So yun, nawawala. Literal na nawala ang ecosystem nila. Or natural disasters. Okay. Ecological stress. It is a disturbance in ecological balance or ecosystem equilibrium. The disturbance can be physical, chemical, and biological. It can be chronic or episodic and can occur when foreign substances or agents are introduced in concentrations large enough to affect some components of the ecosystem, thereby causing ecological stress. So kapag may nababago sa isang ecosystem, it causes ecological stress. So literally, yung term na stress, kung papaano natin naiintindihan yung term na stress, ganun din siya. I-apply mo lang sa sa ecology or sa ecosystem. Yun na yung ecological stress kapag may nababago, kapag may hindi nakukuha, kapag yun nga, disturbed siya. When the exposure to environmental stressors increases or decreases in intensity, ecological responses result. Stressors can be natural environmental factors or they may result from the activities of humans kapag nga nagiging polluted ang isang lugar, yun na, nagkakaroon ng ecological stress. Kapag nagiging madumi ang isang lugar, makalat ang isang lugar, nagkakaroon ng ecological stress. Some environmental stressors exert a relatively local influence, while others are regional or global in their scope, such as global warming. Stressors are challenges to the integrity of ecosystems and to the quality of the environment. Species and ecosystems have some capacity to tolerate changes in the intensity of environmental stressors. This is known as resistance, but there are limits to this attribute, which represent thresholds of tolerance. When these thresholds are exceeded by further increases in the intensity of environmental stress, substantial ecological changes are caused. Kumbaga, ang environment kaya naman niyang tumanggap ng stress. Parang tao, kaya naman tumanggap ng stress, pero meron siyang threshold. Ibig sabihin, meron siyang hangganan. Kapag lumagpas ka na doon sa hangganan, anong nangyayari? Napupuno ka, di ba? Kahit sa tao. Pag nasobrahan ka na sa stress, magkakaroon ng matinding pagbabago sa'yo. Either mabaliw ka, maging depressed ka, magkakasakit ka, at kung ano-ano pa. Ganon. Kapag nasobrahan ang stress ng isang tao. Gano'n din sa environment. May sukdulan lang na may kakayanan lang silang i-hold na stress. And kapag hindi na, of course, magkakaroon ng mga big changes. Masisira din yung kanilang ecosystem. So, environmental stressors can be grouped into the following categories. We have physical stress. This refers to a brief but intense exposure to kinetic energy. This is a type of ecological disturbance because of its acute episodic nature. Examples include volcanic eruptions, windstorms, and explosions. So, merong ah, physical change, merong physical, yun na nga, stress doon sa environment. Kapag sumabog ang bulkan, nagkakaroon ng lava flow. And then yung lava flow na yon, well, nagkukos nga ng paninira dito. Kung kung ito ay sabihin natin may mga ano to, gubat. So yun, may mga mamamatay na halaman, mamamatay na hayop, and so on. And ganun din sa ibang ano to, ibang calamities. Yun, physical stress. Wildfire is also a disturbance during which much of the biomass of an ecosystem is combusted and the dominant species may be killed. Yung mga hayop na nandun, maaaring o malaki ang tsansa na mamatay sila. Then, pollution. This occurs when chemicals are present in concentrations large enough to affect organisms and thereby cause ecological changes. Toxic pollution can be caused by gases such as sulfur dioxide and ozone, by elements such as arsenic, lead, and mercury, and by pesticides such as DDT. Inputs of nutrients such as phosphate and nitrate can influence productivity and other ecological processes, causing a type of pollution known as eutrophication. Then we have thermal stress, occurs when releases of heat influence ecosystem. Kapag umiinit ang environment, yan, thermal stress. As happened in the vicinity of natural hot water vents on the ocean floor and near industrial discharges of heated water. And then we have radiation stress. It is associated with excessive loads of ionizing energy. This can occur on mountain tops where there are intense exposures to ultraviolet radiation. Kasi masama talaga ang UV. May pagkakataong mabuti ang UV, pero well, hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon kasi dangerous siya. And in places where there are exposures to radioactive materials. Then you have climatic stress. It is associated with excessive or insufficient regimes of temperature, moisture, solar radiation, and combinations of this. Tundra and deserts are examples of climatically stressed ecosystems, while tropical rainforests occur under a relatively benign climatic regime. Kasi obviously sa deserts, mainit. And sa tropical rainforest, mas balanced ang ecosystem doon. Biological stresses. These are associated with the diverse interactions that occur among organisms of the same or different species. Biological stresses can result from competition, herbivory, predation, parasitism, and disease. The harvesting and management of species and ecosystems by humans is a type of biological stress. The introduction of invasive, non-native species may be regarded as a type of biological pollution. So when we say biological stresses, these are related to the members of the ecosystem, yung mga animals, yung mga plants. So kung sila ay nagkakasakit, kung sila ay na-extinct, So, nagkakaroon ng biological stress. Environmental problems. An environmental problem arises whenever there is a challenge in the quality or quantity of any environmental factor which directly or indirectly affects the health and well-being of man in an adverse manner. Kapag naaapektuhan na ang tao, environmental problems can be studied from two different viewpoints. One is simply to look for adverse effects without regard to their origin in order to detect trends that call for further investigation. Una, inaalam mo lang kung ano ang epekto ng environmental problem. Hindi mo na inaalam yung cause, kung saan siya galing, basta yung effect na lang ang inaalam mo. And then the other is to try to understand the cause and effect. Yung mula sa origin niya, saan siya ah, nagmula, paano siya nabuo. And the cause and effect relationships which make a better prediction and proper management possible. Parang sa criminology, di ba? Inaalam natin ang causes of crime, causes of criminality, bakit nagiging kriminal ang isang tao, and so on. In order for us to create better plans, in order for us to implement the laws properly, intindihan na natin. Environmental problems are consequences of pollution and degradation. They include, but not limited to, pollution, soil degradation, global warming, overpopulation, natural resource depletion, and generating unsustainable waste. Yung mga basura na hindi ma-recycle, basura na talagang andyan lang siya, di mo siya maalis. Environmental problems, continuation, waste disposal, deforestation, polar ice caps, loss of biodiversity, climate change, ocean acidification, the nitrogen cycle, ozone layer depletion, acid rain, and water pollution. These are environmental problems. Okay, environmental pollution as a result of overpopulation, rapid industrializations, kapag sinabing industrializations, yung umuunlad ang isang lugar through, sabihin na natin, factories, nai-industrialize na sila. And other human activities like agriculture and deforestation. The earth became loaded with diverse pollutants that were released by byproducts. Environmental pollution is defined as the undesirable changes in physical, chemical, and biological characteristics of the air, land, and water. It is the introduction of contaminants into the natural environment that cause adverse change. Pollutants may cause primary damage with direct identifiable impact on the environment or secondary damage in the form of minor perturbations in the delicate balance of the biological food web that are detectable only over long time periods. So, ulitin natin, ang pollutants, merong dalawang uri ng damage na pwedeng magawa or maging makos. Primary damage and secondary damage. And when we say primary damage, direct impact. Yung matutukoy mo agad kung ano yung naging impact. And then, secondary damage, yung mga maliliit na bagay. Yung mga maliliit na bagay na makikita mo lang o mapagtatanta mo lang kung lumipas na ang matagal na panahon. Kasi nga puro sila minor perturbations lang siya. So pollutants are grouped under two classes. Biodegradable pollutants. So these are broken down by the activity of microorganisms and enter into the geochemical cycles. Examples of such pollutants are domestic waste products, urine and fecal matter, sewage, agricultural residue, paper, wood, and cloth. Uh, So, when we say biodegradable pollutants, ito yung mga, ano ba yan? Dahil chat. Ito yung mga nakakasira sa environment. Sorry. Ito yung mga pollutants but can be ulit. May magchat-chat pa ba? Wala na. Biodegradable pollutants are pollutants, nakakadumi sila sa environment, but can be degraded. Pwede silang ma-disintegrate. Katulad nga ng, yan, urine, yung pupu. Pwede silang ma-disintegrate, kumbaga. Okay. And then we have non-biodegradable pollutants. They have stronger chemical bonds. They do not break down into simpler and harmless products. Unlike biodegradable pollutants, actually, yung pupo nga, ginagawa pang fertilizer, di ba? So, napapakinabangan pa siya kahit na considered as waste siya. But non-biodegradable products are, yun na nga, hindi mo siya ma, wala na ako. Non-biodegradable pollutants, hindi sila madaling mawala. Katulad ng, yan, various insecticides and other pesticides, mercury, lead, arsenic, aluminum, plastics, radioactive waste. Pollution is classified according to the components of the environment that are polluted. Examples are air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, and noise pollution. Okay, environmental degradation. It is described as the erosion of the natural environment through the depletion of resources, the destruction of ecosystems, and the extinction of plant and animal species. Environmental degradation is caused in a variety of ways, predominantly by human actions. However, natural events can also result in the deterioration of an environment. Earthquakes, volcanoes, and intense rainfall events can all affect the environment in negative ways. Environmental changes may be driven by many factors, including economic growth, population growth, urbanization, intensification of agriculture, rising energy use and transportation, the extraction of natural resources, and the production of waste and other pollutants have severely degraded many of the planet's ecosystems. So, I think you know this, and this is very obvious naman, di ba? Na habang ah, ginagamit natin ang ating natural resources, nagpo-produce din tayo ng waste. And kapag nagpo-produce tayo ng waste, well, some of it becomes non-biodegradable pollutants. Kaya, nasisira yung ecosystem. So, others, mining, deforestation, fossil fuel burning, and pollution are just some of the human activities that have led, are just some of the human activities that have led to environmental degradation. So, basically, pag sinabing degradation, pag nag-degrade na ang isang tao, yung isang environment in this sense, nababawasan ang kanyang quality. Nawawala siya. And of course, hindi natin gusto yon dahil pinakikinabangan natin yung environment at kapag yung environment mismo ay nag-degrade na, anong gagamitin natin? Eh dahil nga environment is usually natural, 'di ba? We use the term natural resources. Eh dahil nga limited ang natural resources. Oo, madami, pero may hangganan din siya, limited. Kapag inabuso siya, mawawalan tayo ng gagamitin, mapagkukunan. It is a well-known fact that there is an interaction between various components of the environment. The atmosphere, the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere are interdependent dependent on each other in a symbiotic manner. One component cannot function without the others. The interrelationship between the various components is vital in the achievement of a dynamic equilibrium condition in the environment. The absence or extended disturbance of one component may render dynamic equilibrium unattainable and leads to environmental degradation. Kapag ah, system kasi siya, 'di ba? At 'pag sa system, hindi makakapag-function ng maayos yung buong system na yun kapag may isang part na sira. So kapag nagkaroon ng sira o kapag nagkaroon ng isang disturbance sa isang component sa environment and it leads to environmental degradation. Tapusin na natin. Okay, various threats to environmental well-being and the threats to mankind. First is obviously pollution. Pollution of the air, water, and soil caused by toxins such as plastics, heavy metals, and nitrates caused by factors such as toxins and gases released by factories, combustion of fossil fuels, acid rain, oil spill, and industrial waste. So, madaming uri ng pollution. And obviously, it causes environmental degradation also. Then we have global warming. The emission of greenhouse gases due to human activity causes global warming, which in turn causes an increase in temperature that then leads to rising sea levels. So kapag tumataas ang temperature, kapag umiinit, ah tumataas ang sea level, natutunaw yung mga yelo sa North and South Pole. Then nagkakaroon ng flash floods and desertification. Then overpopulation. So we are facing a shortage of resources such as food, water, and fuel to sustain the rising global population. Kasi pag mas madaming tao, mas madaming gumagamit ng resources, mas madaming umiinom ng tubig, mas madaming kumakain, so on. Particularly in developing countries like our country. Intensive agriculture attempting to lessen the problem actually leads to more damage through the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides. Dahil yung mga farmland parang laging pinupuno. So, gustong makapag-produce ng mabilis, uh, and of course, gusto nilang mapangalagaan ng maayos, gumagamit ng mga ganitong chemicals. Then waste disposal. An excessive amount of waste is produced and dumped in the oceans. Nuclear waste is particularly dangerous as well as plastics and electronic waste. Kaya may tamang paraan dapat ng pagdi-dispose ng mga gamit. Pinakasimple na lang dyan ay yung pagsisegregate. Diba? Nabubulok, di nabubulok. Then, ocean acidification, the increase in the production of carbon dioxide by humans causes the ocean's acidity to rise, which has a negative impact on marine life. And then we have loss of biodiversity na tackle na rin natin to kanina. Species and habitats are becoming extinct due to human activity dahil nasisira nga yung lugar kung saan sila naglalagi. Nasisira ang ecosystem nila and nawawala ang biodiversity. This causes an imbalance in natural processes like pollination and poses a threat to ecosystems. Coral reef destruction is particularly affected. Then, deforestation, loss of trees in order to make space for residential, industrial, or commercial projects. Yung mga subdivision nga. Means that less oxygen is produced. Kasi nga, Alam naman natin na ang oxygen galing sa halaman at kapag binabawasan ng halaman, nababawasan din ang oxygen. And temperature and rainfall are affected. Then we have ozone layer depletion. Pollution caused by chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs in the air creates a hole in the ozone layer which protects the Earth from harmful UV radiation. At kapag nasisira nga yung ozone layer, direktang tumatama sa atin ang UV rays ng sun, which is delikado. Acid rain. Pollutants in the atmosphere such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides cause acid rain, which has negative consequences for humans, wildlife, and aquatic species. And lastly, public health issues. Lack of clean water is one of the leading environmental problems currently. Nabanggit natin kanina kung gaano kadami ang water sa mundo, but majority of it is salt water. Kaya hindi mo rin siya magagamit for drinking. So pollutants in the air also cause issues such as respiratory disease and cardiovascular diseases. So that is one environmental problem or threat, yung mga public health issues natin.